The Range Rover Sport has been a popular option in the Land Rover lineup for a long time now. It's provided a nice little alternative to the full-fat Range Rover with a slightly more dynamic edge that means it's, well, slightly better suited for people who do a lot of on-road driving. Now there's a brand new one and it's got a dynamic new look as well as a whole range of new interior features. But can it continue where the old car picked off, and will it be as popular? That's what we're going to find out today. Now it's absolutely bolting out here, so I can't wait to get inside that car, but before we go and check out what this Range Rover Sport has to offer, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video. From the front, the Range Rover Sport looks, well, quite a lot like its predecessor actually. It's a slightly smoother affair, but I think it's still really attractive from the front end of the car. It's around the back where things have really changed. It's a far more smoothed out design than before, and I think it's quite a controversial one. I'm not entirely sure on it at this point, but let us know what you think of it in the comments below. You may have seen that the Range Rover Sport was included as one of our top cars of 2022, and one of the key reasons behind this is because of this really pleasant interior. It's a big step up compared to the previous generation Sport. It's all centered around this huge central screen, which, as well as looking good, actually functions really nicely. It's really responsive, easy to use, and I think it's a really great feature on a new generation of Land Rover products. Here we've got some nice chunky controls for the heating and, most importantly, the heated seats. And coming on from that, we've got heated steering wheel and a really nice thin steering wheel, which is a nice change from some of the chunkier versions that we're finding on cars like the BMW X5 that we looked at recently. Storage wise, all really good. We've got nice deep door bins, a nice bin in the middle here too, and also these quite cool electronically operated glove boxes, which provide you with some extra space. It's a really pleasant place to be, comfortable and well made too. What's it like in the back of the Range Rover Sport? Well, looking at spaciousness first, we're doing okay. The seat is in my position, and I've got a decent amount of knee room, I'd say, and foot space is excellent. Headroom is good too, and this car also has a panoramic sunroof, which quite often eats into headroom. There's also a nice low transmission tunnel, so whoever's sitting in the middle isn't going to be hampered by that too much. Elsewhere, we've got good charging options, so we've got two USB-C sockets and then a normal 12-volt socket in the middle, so we've got plenty of options there. Independent heating controls. And then in the middle, nice little bit of storage there and some cup holders, which is what you always want on a long journey. Isofix points, we've got two here and two underneath me here, so there's plenty of options when it comes to car seats as well. Functionality, I say, is very good. Practicality is good too, though I will say that if you are a little bit taller, you may be struggling for knee room when you're sat behind a taller driver. You'd expect pretty decent levels of boot space from a car the size of the Range Rover Sport, and that's just what you get. Now, you have to forgive the state of our car today. It is pretty disgusting, but it is mid-December in the UK, so you drive a car for more than 5 minutes and it gets really grubby. So you've got 647 litres of space here, nice flat area too, and not too much of a load lip, so getting heavier items in there isn't going to be too tricky. We've also got this handy divider which can stop your loose items from rolling around in the back there, and just gets a nice separation to the boot as a whole. You can also, on this car with air suspension, lower the back of the car and raise it to make getting in and out a little bit easier. Though if you are going to sit on there to change your wellies or boots, you might have to put a towel down because the backs of your trousers are going to get grubby. Overall, really good space, plenty of functionality, and just what you'd expect from a car of this size. The Range Rover Sport is available with a variety of petrol and diesel engines, but the one we're in today is powered by a 3-litre turbocharged diesel engine, so it's pretty traditional in that respect. It's got around about 350 brake horsepower, and it'll get the Range Rover Sport from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.6 seconds, which I think is pretty impressive for a car of this size. One thing I really like about the Range Rover Sport is the 8-speed automatic gearbox. The calibration between it and the 3-litre diesel engine is really good, so there's not too much of a delay when you press the throttle and when the power arrives. That's something that we've seen become an issue in quite a lot of diesel-powered VW group cars. You press the throttle and then you have to wait and wait and wait, and then the power arrives. And that can be really awkward, particularly when you're on roundabouts or junctions and you want to make a quick move. Elsewhere, things are really good. There's a slightly firmer edge to the ride in the Sport than there is in the full-fat Range Rover, but you'd expect that because it's a Range Rover Sport and it's meant to be more dynamic. I like the steering too, it's nicely weighted. It's got a good amount of heft to it, but not overly so that it becomes cumbersome. But it's light enough to still make the car feel agile and involving. I think it's a really nice balance between the two. Visibility is good as well, and actually economy isn't bad at all. JLR claims that you should get 36.7 mpg in this particular car, and I actually think you could probably do better than that on a long run. So it shows that it's going to be a good all-rounder, particularly for those people who are going to be doing long journeys. Of course, in the Range Rover you get this really nice high driving position. It's really confidence inspiring too. And because of the relatively blocky nature of its design, I don't find it too hard to place on the road, and actually you know where its corners are relatively well. You're also helped by a whole suite of assistance systems and a good number of parking sensors and a wide variety of cameras too. Now of course the Range Rover is also fitted with loads of off-road tech, and that's something that we're not putting to good use today, just being on the road, but if you have a look at this footage now, you'll be able to see the Range Rover being pushed to its absolute limits off-road. And just because it's got sport in the name doesn't mean that this thing can't go on some really tricky terrain. It definitely can. How does it feel compared to something like an Audi Q8? I'd say this is the slightly more comfort-focused one. The Q8 rides on big alloys and definitely has a firm suspension setup, so I'd want this one if I was out for comfort overall. The new Range Rover Sport feels like it definitely picks up where its predecessor left off. I think one of the biggest draws of this new car is its interior. The level of technology that Jaguar Land Rover has put into this new Range Rover Sport is very impressive, and it's way easier to use than it was on the previous generation car. In terms of drivability, it's still pretty spot on. The good news is that the previous generation Sport was really accomplished in its own right. So if you aren't in the market for a brand new version, let's be honest, at £100,000 it is quite an expensive proposition. Those previous examples make for really good purchases, and there are loads of examples currently available on motors.co.uk too. Thank you for watching this review of the new Range Rover Sport. If you have enjoyed it, please leave us a like below and let us know what you think of this car in the comments section underneath. And since you're here, please remember to subscribe to the motors.co.uk YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new review.